Peace, love, and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Get This Wisdom Live. I am your host tonight. My name is Shakti Sterner. I am also the editor in chief of Get This Wisdom magazine. We have a very special episode tonight, one that is very near to the heart and a story that has definitely impacted the citizens of Detroit. Before I go any further, though, I want to provide our disclaimer. As you all know, for those of us who tune in and for those just new to the platform, I am a stay at home mother. My children are on the premises. You may hear them in the background at one point, but don't let that deter you from the message. And I thank you for tuning in on behalf of my family to yours. Now, again, tonight's episode is entitled Karmen Forever. And the reason why we chose that title is because this episode is dedicated to the memory and honor of a very special young lady here in the city of Detroit, Queen Karmen Hogan. And we are blessed to have her sister with us tonight. But before we bring her up into the platform, I just want to offer uh, my sincerest condolences to you, Queen, to your family, to and to everyone impacted by this tragedy. As some of you may know or not, Queen Karmen uh, lost her life tragically here in the city of Detroit last year, and we're here to celebrate her and uplift her tonight. So again, we are honored to have her sister, Miss Carla Akins, on with us and giving us the opportunity to uplift her sister and her family at this time. So, Queen, do you mind, sharing with our audience just a little bit of who you are, and then we'll go right into, speaking upon Karmen.
Um, Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm sorry. Oh, you got me so miscombobulated. I'm sorry. Um, Good evening. My name is Carla Akins. It was Carla Hogan, but then I was married, and so my name, of course, changed. Um, I am Carmen's oldest sister. Um, I currently now work at the University of Detroit Mercy, where I've been for a little over 20 years. Um, I am also a minister at our church, which is Frontline Christian Church, um, that has been in existence for about a little over 30 years. Um, so that's just a little bit about me, just a little small bit about me. And that's it right now.
With
Should I?
us, and um, you look beautiful, by the way. I think I said that earlier. You look very
Thank,
beautiful tonight. And
thank
I understand if you're nervous, it happens all the time, but you're with family right now, so we're gonna rock it out. Um, so when we get into the the queen, the queen that is known as Karmen Hogan, do you mind firstly giving us like for Carmen as a child? What was her environment and things of that okay.
Well, Carmen as a child was completely doted on. And the reason I say that is because I was 17 when she was born. Her brother Timus was 16. Her sister Krista was 14. And my youngest brother was 13. So we were all teenagers when she was born on April 10th, 1986. So she was wonderful because she was a baby and we were all teenagers. And so she brought all of this joy into our lives because she was new to us. It was like, for me and my sister, she was like a toy because it was all about getting her dressed and doing her hair and putting on her earrings. And for the boys, she was more like a tussling thing. They like to tussle with her and flip her around and knock her on the floor and make her laugh. Um, as a child, the one thing that I noticed about Carmen was she had the prettiest eyes. And sometimes she would just kind of stare at you, but not really, not say dada goo goo nothing, but she would just stare at you, and her eyes were so big and pretty. And it was almost like when she would look at you, she would be looking right through you, even though she wasn't. And she had a joyful life. As a matter of fact, right now I live in the house that she grew up in. So it it's um it's a little difficult because I it's a little difficult only because this is where she grew up at. So it's a little difficult. Okay, hold on.
Um, yeah, there we go. There we go. We have the sister back with us. Okay, there she is. Hear me now? Not sure what's going on that end. As I was saying, I met her about 2016, 2017 ish, and how we introduced to one another is that she reached out to me in magazine. And when I first encountered the queen, and see, when I first encountered the queen, very pleasant, very, very pleasant. One of the correct and across the nation, uh, and so warm, and I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, 1 second. Let's see what's going on, fam. We're having some terrible. There we are. She's back. She's back. Okay, so I was just filling the airspace until we got things straightened out. Now, where we left off is you were speaking upon her being doted on when she was little, and how old her siblings were, including yourself.
Yes. I um like I was saying, she had the prettiest eyes ever in life to me. They were eyes that looked right through you. Whenever you seen her, she would be sometimes she would just be sitting and staring, but her eyes were so beautiful. Um she literally grew up in a family where she was doted over because she was the baby girl. So everybody did everything for her. Like she almost it was a lot of things that like for me, she was tied out for lack of a better term, she was tied to my hip from the day she was born. I will say this on the funny note, even if my mother didn't want us to have teenage pregnancy, we never would have had it dealing with Carmen, just to be funny. Because after one night of waking up with her, I made a very conscientious decision never to have never to have a baby while I was a teenager because with my mother being a little older and having a baby, she incorporated us teenagers in to help her a lot. So, in helping her, I came to the conclusion that teenage pregnancy was not for me.
Definitely. So you were like her second mom then, right?
Uh, for lack of a better term, yes. Yeah, she.
And you guys,
Uh, Go ahead.
I was just going to reiterate that you said you guys were attached by the hip, so your relationship was very, very close.
Extremely, extremely close. Um, um, I we I would say we all were extremely close. Like we called ourselves the Fab Five before the guys at Michigan called themselves the Fab Five because we were actually the first Fab Five to me, and it was me and Timus and Rodney and Crystal and Carmen. It was us, and we were very close. We had great times together. Every time we did a whole lot of things together. And we always knew that we had one baby sister that everybody always made sure that they were looking out for. You know what I'm saying?
You all were very protective of her, right?
Extremely,
Mhm.
extremely protective of her.
And with her being the youngest and having that family, what were some of the things that Carmen would do when she was little? What are some of the things that she
Well, I'm going to tell you, first of all, she was very friendly. Um, Actually, she has friends that have been her friends for almost 34 years. She had friends that have been with her for 34 years. I want to turn that fan off because I can't get up there. Um, she had friends that had been her friends for 34 years. Like she had met them when they were all 2 years old, and they were still friends all the way up until the day she passed away. Um, Carmen loved to play. She was not a singer, but she liked to sing sometimes. I think when she got about 9 years old is when she really started getting into writing poetry. And at age 9 and 10, that's when she really started with a pen and a pad, I would say. Not rapping, but writing poetry. Um, and she literally wrote poetry all the way up until she passed away. But she loved poetry. Um, in her teenage years, when she finally hit the ninth grade, she wanted to play basketball, and she was a very, very good basketball player. She played for all of her high school years, and she was very good at it. But once she got to college, she decided she didn't want to play basketball anymore. It was a hard decision, but she decided to do it. But she was very, extremely good at it. My dad still has VHS videos of her games. She was a very good basketball player. Mm.
beautiful? So we're looking at her loving to be a poet and doing spoken word, her being an athlete and in high school and things of that nature. So we're pretty much looking at a queen that was well rounded, both um, spiritually, mentally,
Mhm.
emotionally, and physically, right?
Exactly. She was a well-rounded person. Her mom and dad have been married for this January was 54 years. Um, she really, to me, I feel like she had a lot of good things going for her. She studied hard in school. Um, she was a really good person. Like, and we didn't really know to what extent poetry was going to play in her life until we got in the teens, because when she was in the 10-year-old, she was writing deep stuff. But you know, when you're the baby girl and you say, I'm going to write poetry, all your brothers and sisters that's older than you say, sure you are, baby. And then they just kind of let you go, but don't get serious about you until they read your stuff. And when my father first read her spoken word, he said, her poetry, he said, this is really deep. And she had to be about 13 years old. And he said, I can't believe my daughter wrote this and she's only 13. This is really, really deep words. And then that's when we really started taking her poetry very seriously. Um, I think when she was a baby, a lot of things that she said she was going to do, we didn't think that she was going to do it because you know how brothers and sisters are when they, you say, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to be a millionaire. And you go, yeah, you're going to be a millionaire, baby. But you don't really think it
Absolutely.
until it starts actually happening. So, yes, we love listening to her. Now we love listening to her even more. Um, she was very family oriented. She loved being around her family. She called her mom almost every day. I don't think there's a day that went by that she did not talk to my mom or my dad. And she loved all of us. She loved my sister, my brothers, their wives, my sisters, her husband, and all 17 of her nieces and nephews.
Wow,
So she had a big
17. That's a lot,
17.
right?
Mm-hmm. That's a lot. Yes. And they each one of them individually thought the world of her. It was so funny because they used to say I was the favorite aunt, but then Auntie Carmen was the coolest aunt. For a long time, I thought that being the favorite aunt was the great one because, that meant everybody loved you. But I found out being the favorite aunt is just like being an old lady, and being the coolest aunt is more fun. And all of them said that she was the coolest aunt. She would call them. They said she would talk to them. When my niece, I have a niece that played basketball too, all of her high school years. Just like, and she always called her Auntie Carmen to talk about basketball things and things of that nature, of how to stop getting fouled because they were both very short point guards because Carmen was a short point guard and so was my niece. So my niece would call her all the time and say, how do I do this? Where how do I get around this big person? And she'll tell her how to do it. And she also stood behind her when my niece said, I don't she got injured and then she said she didn't want to play anymore. And the first person she called is Auntie Carmen and said, how did you deal with not wanting to play anymore? And my sister really helped her through and stood with her and said, it's okay. Tell my brother it was okay if she doesn't play anymore. Let her pursue her career because she did get injured and she had to have like some surgery. Um,
Mhm.
so, and each one of them had their own separate relationship with her. It is not like she just bunched them all together and said they're all together. She developed a separate relationship with each one of them. And that's special too. That was very special of her because I group them together. Not that I'm mean, I just say, come over my house and I group everybody together. But she really developed relationships with each one of them.
Beautiful, and to hear that loving energy that was shared amongst her and yourself, your siblings, and your nieces and nephews, we know that where Carmen's love for the community around her comes from. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and, you and I had a private conversation, and I don't go into detail, but we definitely spoke upon how impactful Carmen was to just everybody she basically met. Everybody she basically met, she wanted to help them. She wanted to add on and make a difference and help people achieve their dreams and their goals. And we see that that began from her upbringing with you all. So definitely thank you for cultivating her with that loving energy and nature. She was a gift to us all.
She really was. One thing I say about Carmen, and I say this all the time, and it was me and my sister. Now I don't call my sister-in-laws my sister-in-laws. I call them my sisters. That's one thing that we decided, that when our brothers married women into our family, we weren't going to call them our sister-in-laws, because that makes them feel so separated, and we never wanted to feel separated. So we called them our sisters, all of them. And one of my sisters said, Carmen would always encourage everybody else, but she would be so humble when it came to her. You know what I'm saying? She would lift up other people. And I'm gonna tell you one thing. She loved the east side of Detroit. I'm just gonna tell y'all, she was an east sider, and she never wanted to leave the east side. She said, I want to lift up my community. I I remember seeing her on a video. She was doing a live video where she was knocking on doors, because she said, I just want you to know that I'm having this event and I want you to come to the event. It's called Stop the Hate, or Stop the Violence. And she said, I want you all to come. And she was knocking on doors because she wanted people to become a united community and get away from this gun violence. Um, she was an advent supporter of being against uh, police brutality. Um, she, I think she really took to heart the Sandra Bland case, because it was a woman, and it really just affected her a lot. It affected her to the point where she just wanted to do something about it. She wanted to go on a march, and she wanted to say her name. She would do things like this. I used to call her my little black power lady. I said, you my Black Panther baby. Because she always wanted to do something that had to do with get him out the way. Oh, the George Floyd. Oh, she wanted to go to when my brother. She was so excited because my brother went on when he lives in our family lives in Texas. Some of our family had moved to Texas, and she was so happy when my brother went on a walk for George Floyd. Oh my goodness. We couldn't do nothing with her. She was like, my family is involved. Let's get it. Let's get it. She wanted, whenever it was time to march, whenever it was time to do anything to uplift Black people, she wanted to do it. Always wanted to do, always wanted to join in. And I seen that in her. And I always said, I wished I could be more like that, more lifting up the fist like this, Black power, you know. I was kind of like a prayer. I sit back and pray and say, Lord, touch the people, Lord, help the people. But she was more like, I'm gonna get out there and walk, and I'm gonna uplift, and I'm gonna say it was wrong, and I'm gonna say, let's do something about it. And then that's when she started having started having the Stop the Hate. um uh she called it a event, but she would get rappers, and she would get people that do spoken word, and she would actually get a stage and do it right on the east side. She would just go and have them do it. They would rap, and they would all talk about stopping the violence. So it was very heartbreaking to know that the one thing that she was always doing is the one reason why, the one way that I never would have dreamed that that would have been the way that she would have left this earth. The one thing that she was so against, which was gun violence. Hello?
To speak upon it. There she is. She's back with us. Okay,
Hmm.
go ahead.
I this is hard to talk about, but
Yes, and we thank you. We uplift you in this moment for the strength and the courage and the bravery that you have and that you are showing for your whole entire family right now, especially Carmen. So we're here to uplift you as well. And you are being so inspirational right now to so many families that are in your position, that, you know, are sadly grieving the loss of a loved one. So we thank you for taking on the call of strength and champion that for your family and others that are looking up to you all for inspiration.
hmm I'm going to tell you this. I think the most devastating day for us was June the 30th, 2022. And it was like we were we were a very tight knit, very complete family. We literally did lots of things together as a family. We would go on trips. We would have picnics. We would everything that we did it together. And I'm I was devastated because that day my sister had called me. Um, now I'm gonna back up a little bit because I think about a year before this happened, I was talking. I would My sister would call me, Carmen, the Queen Carmen would call me, and she would say, I would be in a meeting at work or I would be doing something at work, and I would be like, "Why are you calling me?" And then one day she just told me, she said, "Sis, I call you because I just want to talk to you." And I don't know, something broke in me. And I said, I may not be there for my sister as much as I need to be. And it wasn't anything that she didn't fuss at me. She just said, some days I just want to talk to you. And I made a decision that year that whenever she called, I don't care, whenever she called, I was going to stop and talk. Because you never know when it's your last time. And I say this with everything in me. You have to value the relationships that you have around you. You have to value the people that are around you. And I made a decision in that year that I would answer the phone every time she called, because I didn't want to ever her to ever feel like I didn't want to talk to her as a sister. So I don't have many text messages from Carmen because every time she called, even if I was in a meeting at work, I would say, I got to step out for a minute and take care of this. And I would go out there. And even if she just said, I want to see what you're doing, I say, I'm in a meeting. She'll say, okay, I'll call you back later. But it may be that she just wanted to hear my voice. And it may be that I just wanted to hear her voice. And we did this every day. I talked to my sister every single day, sometimes twice a day, maybe sometimes three times a day. It just depended on how long our conversation went. And that particular day, that afternoon, she called me and it was 12 noon. And I picked up the phone. I was at work, but I picked up the phone and I said, "What are you doing?" Because we were supposed to be going out of town, her and I, and my parents, and actually my whole family. We were supposed to go out of town because my niece was having her graduation party. So we were going to the graduation party. So we were talking about how to get out of town. And she was like, I'm packed to go, because it was a Thursday. She was packed to go that Thursday. We were supposed to leave that Friday. And we were talking on the phone, and then I told her, I said, come to me, just come to, we were talking, I said, come to my job, I can hook you up. She had asked me to do something. I said, come to my job, I'll hook you up. And I never tell her to come to my job, so I knew something was strange for me asking her to do that, because I never asked her to come. And and she said, I might not make it. And I said, oh, you gonna make it. I said, and I thought she was talking gas. So I was like, don't worry about it. I got you. Just get to me. I'll give you some gas. You will be straight. That's what I was thinking in my head. And then we hung up about 12:20. And I don't know why, but I just felt something going on the inside of me. And I kept looking at my clock because it only takes her 15 minutes approximately to get to my job. So I was like, I kept looking at my clock and I kept saying, what's taking her so long to get here? And I literally went outside to look out at my job to see if she was pulling up into the driveway. And I'm like, I never do that. And I didn't know why I was doing it. I didn't know why I was so up in an uproar. And then approximately about 1:50, I got the call. And it was very devastating because it was just devastating because I was told one thing. And then when we got to the hospital, it was something different. And that's why I'm going to tell you, don't listen to people, because people can call you and be so emotional and they can tell you one thing happened and then you can kind of figure it out. You can kind of start to come to grips with it. And then when you get there and you hear that it wasn't what you thought, it's like you have to do it all over again. And to hear that my sister had been violently killed and shot 6 times, it was devastating to me. When I told my brothers, it was devastating to them. When I told my sister, because our sister lives in Indiana, I had to call to Indiana and tell her. My mom and dad were here in Detroit because we were going to the party. So, and we were actually going to Indiana. So we were all here going there. And we never made it there because she died before we could go to the party. And everybody, the thing that blesses me, though, even though I feel like my grief is suspended, I feel like I'm broken and I can't fix myself. I thank God that we have God. I thank God for prayer. I thank God for family, because I think we bonded so much closer because of losing her. But to this day, we all feel suspended in mid grief, because it's like when you don't know what happened and you don't know how it happened, you just suspend it. It's like your grief, you can't close. And that's where we're at. That's where our family is right now. Our family is where we can't close because we don't know what happened. And I'm honest to say this, and I know it doesn't sound right, but I kind of wish that it was an accident, because I was told initially that it was a car accident and that she had gotten hit and her car had flipped over and that's how she passed away. Now, that was hard, but it was something that I knew could have happened. I was thinking Van Dyke is all those plants over there. She could have been hit by a truck could have hit her, she could have hit another car. You can deal with that. But when I hear that it was a shooting and then it was a homicide and then we don't know who did it and we don't know where it's going, then I'm back at square one, like unclosed. Everybody that my sister and I appreciate the life that she had. I appreciate that God even put her in our lives, because everybody that she touched, they all say the same thing. She had a beautiful light. She had a beautiful spirit. She was all about peace. She was all about harmony. And I'm telling you, it makes me feel good to know that about her. I haven't I haven't encountered one person I haven't encountered one person that has said anything horrible about her. Not one person. They say she was full of life. They said she helped me. They said she wanted to be a part of me. And I'm going to tell you, my sister was doing everything, everything, everything that a creative could do. She was doing spoken word. She was writing poetry. She had just got casted into a TV show called Caesar and Ronan. She was a photographer, a phenomenal photographer, and she was getting gigs everywhere. She did videos for Detroit local artists. This is the gift that God allowed to be in my life, and the gift that was given to the city of Detroit and could have been to the world. So that's 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 it. That's it. She was everything to me. She was my sister. She was my friend. She was my best friend. And I know a lot of people don't say that about their sisters, but my sister was my best friend. And funny, she used to always call me Cora. That was my nickname for her, her nickname for me. Once we started watching Medea, she said, "Carla, you look like Cora." So she started calling me Cora, and my ex-husband now, she called him Brown because he does look like Brown. So she would come over here and say, "Cora and Brown, what are y'all doing?" And we got to the point where we just answered to Cora and Brown. And I, lastly, I want to say that we do have something going on at Crime Stoppers. And if you know anything that happened, uh, we want anybody that has a tip to speak up. You know, you can go to 1-800 Speak Up, and you can leave a tip anonymously. You don't even have to say your name. But we just want to find out who did this and who killed a beautiful light in the city of Detroit.
I agree, Queen. With that, there are a lot of things going on and have been going on in the city and all across the country for a while now. Um, but when it came to people who were devoted and dedicated to uh, being the voice that speaks up against what's right and what's wrong, uh, Carmen was the first one there. It
Mm, you
She
ain't
wasn't looking
joking.
for any money. She was one of the people that sincerely in her heart and her soul and her spirit wanted to help her community. She never wanted any money. She never asked for any money. She didn't even want any credit. She didn't care about people giving her credit for her work. She just wanted to do what she could in her own way to help. And we lost a good one. We lost a real one with Carmen's transitioning. And again, I have to say my sincerest condolences to you and your family, because if we received her in the way that we have, just being around her made us feel like, made us feel so happy. We were having down
Mhm.
days or anything like that. She could just step into a room and smile and give you a hug, and your whole day was better. So we received her like that. I can only imagine what type of gift she was for you and your family.
Oh yeah, talk about them hugs. My
Mhm.
nieces and nephews tell me to this day, they keep saying, I miss Auntie Carmen's hugs more than anything, because she would not just hug you. She would not just put her arm around you and just say, "Hey," slap you on the back. No. She put both her arms around you and she would hold you tight. And she would hold you until you let go. She didn't just let go. And And her and my brother Timus does that. They both were the only ones that hug like that. Cause we just hug and say hey and slap. No, she would hug me tight and just hold on to me for a long time. And I'm gonna tell you, when I went through my divorce, it was very hard for me. And my sister would come, and one of them hugs could just make everything better. It made everything better. uh, my nieces and nephews talk about it. My sisters talk about it. My brothers talk about it. We talk about how beautiful those hugs were and how beautiful that smile was. That smile was everything. I
Hmm.
miss her so much. But I am glad the effect that she had on the people that she was around. Because that, even for my parents, that made them feel so good to hear that she was so instrumental in helping people. You know, when they pass away, you want them to have a legacy. And I we have a legacy that our sister gave her all, that our sister did everything in her power to show love all the way up until the end. And really, that's the only legacy you could really ask for, is that they show love all the way up until the end.
Definitely, definitely. Um, the love that she showed was genuine and pure, and it was rare. It's still rare, and that's how I know heaven or what the spiritual world, whatever you choose to believe in the afterlife. Um, she they she's definitely an angel and a spirit watching over us all because that's the type of spirit she had. She didn't have
Mhm.
a bad bone in her body. She didn't have a bad thought about anybody. She wanted to help any and everybody that she came across. And for me personally, having encountered the queen and having worked with her and having the ability and the time to just get to know her and share space with her, I know that when news broke about what happened to the queen, and we can't, go into too many details because it's an ongoing investigation. Um, yes, yes. What happened to the queen definitely it shook Detroit. For those are on the conscious community and the Detroit Poet Society and many different avenues of creation that she was involved with, photography and things of that nature. It shook us. That's the last person we expected something like that to happen to. You know, she such an angel, such an angel. And again, we thank you for sharing your angel with us all.
I'm so happy. Let me tell you something. What makes me happy, even though I'm sad that she's gone, what makes me happy is her legacy still lives on. It still lives on in everybody, because if she touched your life in any way, then her legacy lives on. And it it we I'm gonna tell you, we found out, like I said, she's so humble. She didn't even tell us everything that she was doing. I knew she was doing spoken word. I have heard her do spoken word. I love her spoken word. I loved it when she did it at church, and I loved it when she did it outside of the church. And but to know that she was actually casted, actually doing movies, Detroit local movies, we didn't know that until she passed away, and people started stepping forward telling us that these were the things that she was doing. She was so humble, she wouldn't even tell us that she was doing it. I think she just wanted to surprise us, because she kept telling me before she passed away, she said, Carla, I got a surprise for the whole family. And I said, okay, Carmen. I said, well, when you gonna tell us? She said, just wait. I gotta wait. And then I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna tell the whole family, y'all gonna be surprised. she really was going. She was saving Caesar and Ronan to surprise the entire family. We didn't know, and until we didn't know until after she passed away, and Sean Lyric Matthews came to us and told us. He said, I just casted her into the thing. She did a great audition, and he said when I heard her do the audition, he said I canceled everybody else because she was the person for the job. And he said she worked hard. That's what everybody said. She worked hard. So these legacy things make me feel good that my sister was in the world. I'm just sad that she's not here and I can't call her every day. And I have a little bit of a kind of a, I think a different, you all see her as this person. I just see her as my baby. You know, I remember her calling my name, and it was only she couldn't say Carla, so she would just say Car, Car. She would walk around the house, Car. She couldn't say the love part yet. She could only say Car. So she would say that. So I see her as my baby. I see her as that little sister. And my brother, we were talking about it, and my brother was like, that was my baby sister. He said, that was my baby sister. I can't phantom it because we look at her as our baby sister, and you all look at her as this queen of Black power, and we just see her as the love of the the little person that came into our lives that completed the Hogan family. That's how we see her. And I know that she is um I know that she's somewhere looking over us. I know she's looking over me. And my brother said they looking over her, but I said I know she's looking over me, and I know she's looking over my mom and dad and anybody that she cared about. I believe she's watching over them, and I appreciate this time. I appreciate you allowing me to just talk about her because I feel good whenever I talk about what a beautiful person she really was. Hello, 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 hello. Hello.
Happened to her that evening because it is an open and ongoing investigation. So we must be respectful in that accord. However, we got a chance to speak with Miss Carla about, Carmen's childhood, who she was as a person, her goals, her aspirations, how she impacted Detroit. And on behalf of myself, my family, Get This Wisdom magazine, and uh, the community of Detroit. Just want to say thank you to Karmen Hogan for her many sacrifices that she gave in efforts to uplift herself and those around her, those that she cared for, which was her Black people. She loved us so much, and we thank her for being that vessel of light. And we want to send that same thank you to her family, and her continued support, whatever we can support in. So, I'm sorry for let you all go. We thank you for tuning in on behalf of my family to yours. Until next time, peace, love, and Black power.